William Shakespeare is an English playwright, poet, and actor who is regarded as the greatest writer in English language and the world's greatest dramatist. Romeo says that Juliet's beauty is brighter than the torches. Juliet addresses Romeo as day in night because his presence will outshine against the darkness. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my today's session, I'll be revising the first poem, Romeo and Juliet. So before moving on to the poem, let's see the agenda for the day. I'll be discussing about the synopsis, weightage of the poem, 1-mark questions, 4-mark questions, and the recap. So let's begin the session for the day. William Shakespeare is an English playwright, poet, and actor who is regarded as the greatest writer in English language and the world's greatest dramatist. He is often called England's national poet and bard of Avon. His other works include 38 plays, 2 narrative poems, 154 sonnets, and various other poems. William Shakespeare describes the intense love of Romeo and Juliet, which they expresses through their speeches by using various figures of speech. William Shakespeare brings out the feelings of the two passionate lovers. Love is one of the most celebrated ideas in the world of art. Love cannot be defined. All you can do is feel the essence of love. There were two noble families in Verona. It was Montagues and the Capulets. Both were the sworn enemies. Romeo and Juliet belonged to the sworn enemy family. Lord Capulet had hosted a grand supper. Though Romeo belonged to the family of Montagues, he attends the supper in disguise to see Rosaline. Therefore, he sees Juliet on the dance floor and is fascinated by her beauty. After the dance, he learns that she is the daughter of Lord Capulet. The following verses express their implied feeling for each other. Romeos Soliloquy. Here, Romeo expresses his feelings towards Juliet. Romeo says that Juliet's beauty is brighter than the torches. He exclaims and says that Juliet is brighter than the blaze of the torches. Her beauty is brighter than the torch. She teaches the torches to burn bright. Her brightness outshines the torches has lit up the hall. Juliet is also compared to a red jewel hanging on the cheek of an African. It is an Ethiopia, that is a diamond earring, a dark woman wearing a diamond earring which is hanging on her cheeks. So, Juliet's beauty is compared to an Ethiopia, to that diamond earring. If she stood among a flock of crows, her beauty outshines every other woman over there. Romeo is so overwhelmed by her beauty. She is also compared to a snowy dove. And he says that he had never seen such a beautiful woman in his life. He questioned himself. And he says that after the measure is done, he wants to touch her hand to make his rude hand blessed. He questions himself, saying that, is it that truly I have fallen in love with Juliet? He is overwhelmed with her beauty and is fascinated for her beauty. And he also says that he had never seen such a beautiful woman till night. Juliet's Soliloquy. In this stanza, Juliet expresses her feelings towards Romeo. Juliet addresses Romeo as day in night because his presence will outshine against the darkness. She wants her Romeo during night. She compares her Romeo to the darkness of night. She believes that Romeo will come gliding on the wings of night like a new snow on a raven's back. And she says that after she dies, she wants her Romeo to be cut into pieces of stars. Why she says that? Why she wants her Romeo to be cut into pieces of stars? Because he makes the face of the heaven so fine that all the people in the world will fall in love with night sky, where they don't pay no attention towards the garish sunlight. They'll just be waiting for the night to appear soon. And she also says that I want my Romeo to remain immortal. Here, both Romeo and Juliet knew that both belonged to a rival family, and if they get to know about this, both will be killed. That is why she says, I want my Romeo to be cut into pieces of stars, where he makes a face of the heaven so fine and he remains immortal. So now let's see the weightage of this poem. So the weightage of this poem is for 5 marks. You'll be having 1 mark 1 question and 4 mark 1 question. Now let's see the 1 mark questions. Name the two rival noble families of Verona. It is the Montagues and the Capulets. Before I move on to the next question, whenever you write the answer for 1 marks, make sure that you'll write only the answer. We don't need the complete sentence. If sentence is required, write the sentence, or else write only the words. Who hosted a grand supper? It is Lord Capulet. Romeo attends the supper with the intention of seeing whom? With the intention of seeing Rosaline. Whom does Romeo see on the dance floor? He sees Juliet on the dance floor. What does Romeo intend to do after the measure is done? Or else, what does Romeo want to do as soon as the dance is over? Or else, the one more question, what does Romeo wants to do after the measure is done? So this question can be asked in 3 different ways. So what does Romeo wants to do after the measure is done? He wants to touch her hand and be blessed. What does Juliet want Romeo to be after her death? Juliet wants Romeo to be cut into pieces of stars. But why? Because he makes the face of the heaven so fine that all the people in the world will fall in love with night sky and pay no worship to the garish sunlight. Why will the world be in love with night? Because he makes the heaven so fine and all the people fall in love with night. What do you think the phrase face of heaven signifies? So face of heaven signifies moonlit night sky. Who is compared to a rich jewel in an Ethiopia and snowy dove? I have mentioned 2 things here, Ethiopia and snowy dove. So who is compared? Juliet is compared to Ethiopia and snowy dove. That's the 1 mark question. Now let's see the 4 mark questions. How does Romeo glorify Juliet's beauty? Or what similes does Romeo use to convey Juliet's beauty and to what effect? How does Romeo glorify Juliet's flawless beauty? This question can be asked in 3 different ways. Romeo initially described Juliet as a source of light. He said that she taught torches to burn bright and seemed to hang upon the cheek of night. She was compared to a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Her beauty was too great for the earth and too rich to use. She was like a dove in the field of crows. That is to say that when she stood with other women, she outdid others. She addresses her as a yonder lady. Romeo expressed by telling that he would make his hand blessed by touching her hand. He asked himself if his art really loved then before he had never seen such beautiful women. He saw the beauty only that night. This is the answer what you have to write for that question. Moving on to the next one. How does Juliet want the people to forget the shining sun and why? Romeo sees Juliet on the dance floor and is fascinated by her beauty. But Juliet feels a prejudiced birth of love for a man from the enemy family. Juliet wants the people to forget the shining sun by welcoming the gentle, loving, black-brown night. She invites Romeo in night because he will lie upon the wings of night whiter than new snow on a raven's back. She wants Romeo to cut into pieces after her death so that Romeo will make the face of heaven so fine all the people in the world will fall in love with night and pay no worship to the garishing sun and forget Romeo has the day in night. Next, whose love is more passionate and intense? So when I question this, many of the students says Romeo's love is more passionate than Juliet. Here, both love are passionate. Romeo and Juliet, both of their loves are passionate, but Juliet love is, everyone says that Romeo's love is passionate, but no, it is Juliet's love is passionate because she knew that she had liked a person from the enemy family and her family would have killed her. So only for this purpose we say that Juliet's love is more passionate than Romeo. Romeo and Juliet belong to rival families. Their love is as immense as earth and as wide as sky. It is difficult to say whose love is more passionate, but though Juliet knew this, she did not fear of her family. She knows that her family were to know about their love. Definitely Romeo and Juliet would be killed. As I told, if Juliet family get to know about their love, both Romeo and Juliet might be killed. But she did not fear and she says if she is killed, her beloved would be cut into pieces of stars to glitter in the sky and make the sky brighter than day, and the world would definitely forget to worship the sun and spend the night peacefully in her beloved's presence. This is the evidence to justify that Juliet's love is more passionate and intense than Romeo. Let's see a quick recap of the poem once again. The two noble families of Verona, the Capulets and the Montagues, were the sworn enemies. Romeo and Juliet belonged to the rival families. After the dance is over, he learns that she is the daughter of Lord Capulet. The following verses express the implied feelings for each other. Romeo said that she thought torches to burn bright and seemed to hang upon the cheek of night. She was compared to a rich jewel in an Ethiopia. Her beauty was too great for the earth and too rich to use. Juliet want people to forget the shining sun by welcoming the gentle, loving black-brown night. She invites Romeo in night because he will lie upon the wings of night whiter than new snow on a raven's back. She wants Romeo to cut into pieces of stars after her death so that he will make the face of the heaven fine and all the people in the world will fall in love with night sky and pay no worship to the garishing sun, and all the people will forget him as Romeo and he is the day in night. That is all about the poem Romeo and Juliet. In my next revision class, I'll be revising the second chapter too, dear. Have a good day. Thank you.